Thank you very much. And I always feel I'm quite alone in this chamber at times as a female. And I take solace probably from some of the letters that I receive by email from the women of Ireland and the mothers of Ireland, but also the hundreds of women that have written into the national newspapers, and their voices never get heard in this chamber. So, Minister, I'm going to read out a couple of those letters here today to you, so that you can hear their voices. And the first letter is from a Catherine. It's relevant to my amendment. It is absolutely, as you can, I have two amendments in. So the first letter is from Catherine Monaghan from Ashford in County Wicklow. Sir, I will be voting no in the upcoming referendum. I do not want a very small acknowledgement of my role or my work in the home to be removed from our Constitution. The article in question is symbolic, a token at best. We all know that the state does not actually do much to enable women who would like to give up work outside the home in order to raise their children. In the current economic climate, most parents cannot afford to sacrifice an income if they want to own or even rent a house. Neither do I want an article to be replaced with gender-neutral waffle so that we can all pretend to be living in a perfect world where domestic work, the bearing, feeding and care of children, and the care, when it's needed, of family elders and other dependents is shared equally between men and women. It isn't. We all know it isn't. The 2022 census showed us that 90% of people filling this role were women. Let's be honest and open about the differences between the sexes. Men are not women. Fathers are not mothers. Ask the majority of parents who their child wants when they're feeling sick. Mum, of course. Men are in no way constrained by our Constitution. I was raised by a mother who worked full-time in a fulfilling career. It simply states that we have a right, not an obligation, to stay home with our children if we wish. Instead of abolishing it or amending this article, why don't we hold the state to it? Think of the benefit to the children of Ireland and thus to Ireland itself if family and home were prioritised. A stable foundation at home leads to a happy and healthy and well-adjusted adults. This one is from Anne Harbiston in Aughrim in County Wicklow. Sir, Justine McCarthy needs to get out more. Vote yes to lose the patronising pat on the head to women. Opinion and analysis, January the 19th. Contrary to her assertions, it is not mansplainers who are leading the charge for a no vote in the upcoming referendum on amending 41.2 of the Constitution. Leaving aside the opinions of representatives of NGO groups, whose impartiality cannot be depended upon, as they are the recipients of government funding, several prominent women have spoken up against the proposed amendment, including the last Cancoria, Catherine Connolly. Last year, the government set up a scheme, the Basic Income for the Arts Scheme, whereby workers in that sector received a basic income paid from the public purse. Micheál Martin said at its launch that we need to invest in that which sustains us. I am baffled as to why women's groups and women's journalists are not calling on the government to make good the Constitution's declarations that women who choose to work in the home give to the state, a support which the common good cannot be achieved, and demand that the government pay women in the home a similar basic income, yours. Minister, I could read out more. I have actually loads of them here, but I'll move on to my amendments. My amendment is a simple one. It addresses the two main flaws in the government's proposed wording on Article 42b. One, it rectifies the removal of the word woman from the article, and two, it strengthens the onus on the state to support home care. While I often criticise the government, I must congratulate it today on its unparalleled ability to engage in what most essential act of modern politics, the spinning of a narrative. that they have managed to convince, apparently, women up and down the country that erasing them from the Constitution is a win for women's rights is an act of propaganda that would make even the most scheming dictator blush. The state-sponsored gaslighting of women of Ireland has told the usual worn-thin tale of escaping from the sceptre of the Catholic Church and moving on from the Dark Ages, labelling Article 41.2 backward and archaic, and painting the government of the day as the warriors of social justice, marching ever onwards onto a brave new world. Yesterday's debate saw many members of the House doing their best impression of a calendar, loudly reminding us that it's 2024, as if it's been the current year lent weight to their arguments and conversely weakening those of the opposition. But women who choose to work in their own homes, raising their children and looking after their families are worthy and deserving of protection in 1937, and they are worthy and deserving of protection and mention in 2024. The notion that the merit of an idea can be wholly eroded merely by the passage of time is so absurd that only a politician could espouse it. Yes, it may be the case that the Catholic Church no longer holds the sway over the social and political realms it once did, but its receding has merely made way for a new church, that of progressivism, which has its own dogma, its own creed and its own sins. Chief among them is the recognising of the innate differences between men and women. The Church of Progressivism teaches that it is not enough to simply value and treat men and women equally. Their equality must be universal and absolute, such that there is no differences between them. To this end, differences must be eliminated where possible, and where impossible, they must be dogmatically ignored. To recognise them is to sin, and to speak about them is to risk excommunication, being cancelled, and being labelled a heretic, far right. The fact that women voluntarily take on more care roles, as mothers or otherwise, becomes a problem to solve rather than a reality to accept. Their kind, compassionate, nurturing and caring natures, rather than being celebrated and praised, become unmentionable aspects of their character. After all, women are just like men. All language must be gender neutral, for fear of giving offence to any hypothetical third party. The recognition of any one is taken away to be the exclusion of every other. And this is what has led us to here, when the recognition of the uniqueness of motherhood is deemed politically inconvenient. And so the word woman must be struck out from the Constitution by the people who can't even define what a woman is. It's a perfect encapsulation of the absurdity of this government, and I hope that the people of Ireland see it for what it is. But of course, this amendment will not be accepted. None will. As we've been told, because the government wanted to play a political astrology and put the referendums on a special date, and because the separation of powers is dead and gone in Ireland, given the executive absolute control of the legislature. I commend my amendment to the House, and I recommend the public out there get out and vote on March the 8th against both these amendments. Vote no, no.